Well, hi there. My name is Julia Ponco, and I'm so excited to get to be sharing a little bit of how we can all level up our leadership and our influence with the next generation and with Gen Z. I currently live in Houston, Texas, and work in student ministry down here. And man, I am so excited that we all get to learn together of how to just increase and level up our influence and our leadership with the next generation. Now, regardless of whether you're watching this and you've been a youth pastor for years, or if you're just stepping up new into serving in youth ministry, I believe that we all have the same heart and the same goal. And it's that we want the next generation to experience a life-changing relationship with Jesus. We want them to have an authentic relationship with him that transforms them from the inside out. And man, I believe that we all believe this, but I also think that sometimes we can just not know where to start or kind of feel like we're navigating uncharted territories and reaching the next generation. Like maybe you're sitting here and you're like, man, I want to reach Gen Z, but I don't understand half the words that they say. And they have all of these words that I don't understand what they mean. Or maybe you're sitting here and there's this whole digital landscape and social media, and you're not sure what that would look like to interact or how you should use that within your ministry. Or maybe you're just sitting here and you're like, man, I want to reach the next generation, but it actually makes me a little bit nervous talking to them, or I'm not sure what I would say to them. And no matter where you fall on that, we're going to spend some time today and just talk about two key ways that we can level up our leadership with the next generation. And then also just two encouragements that I have for y'all as we try and as we just partner with the Lord to reach the next generation. And so the goal of this isn't for us to walk out of here understanding how to lead every single person in Gen Z and always have the perfect conversation, because that's not real. But it really is just to grow in our understanding of how to reach and how to lead Gen Z. And so the first way that we can grow in our leadership and level up our leadership and our influences by doing this. We need to meet students where they are at. And now there's a few ways that we need to meet students where they're at. And the first one is physically. Now, really, Gen Z, something that sticks out about them and that's different than other generations is that they're a generation that has more distrust in the church than really any generation that's come before. And so a lot of times the models of churches of just having kids and expecting them to show up if you invite them and making them come to you first, it doesn't really work the same way as it has in previous generations. And so an encouragement that I have for y'all, and a way that we can all level up our leadership is by being willing to go to their turf, being willing to go to the places that they are and reaching them there. And I think with this, that comes with, with a burden for us to do. And so questions that I have for you is, man, are you willing to spend your Friday night at a football game in the fall and bring your family with you instead of doing what you want to do? Are you willing to get up early on a Wednesday, even though you know you have youth that night, to talk at an FCA? Are you willing to talk to a coach of a team at your local high school and ask if you can bring Gatorades to practice? And yes, that might feel a little awkward, but do it anyways. Because what I've found and what I believe is true is that they're special when you go to their turf and you meet them where they're at physically. Y'all, I cannot tell you how many times I've bought pink drinks for girls at Starbucks, and I have like all of the stars in my Starbucks app to prove it, because that's where they are. And so we need to go and meet them where they're at physically. And this isn't just strategy, and this isn't just something about reaching a unique generation, but we actually see this in the life of Jesus. You see, Jesus would meet fishermen on boats. He would meet tax collectors in their booths. He would meet synagogue leaders at synagogues. There is so much power in meeting people where they are at and meeting students when they are at. And so my question is, are you willing to get uncomfortable and go and reach students? I can't tell you how many incredible conversations and how many students have come to our student ministry because I've gone to FCA and gotten up early. And I believe that you can do that too, and that makes a difference when you show up for them in that way. I think the second way that we can meet students where they are at is meeting them at where they are at digitally. Now, I know that people have different thoughts on social media and the role that social media should play in the church. But here's the thing. Social media isn't the enemy of engaging Gen Z. And that's true no matter how many times you catch your girls on Snapchat during groups or they're in service and they're texting their friends. It's actually something that we can use to reach our students because it influences them so much. And so what I would say is, man, use social media to your advantage. Ways that I do this are something as simple as when I follow a girl on Instagram after I meet her for the first time. And it's just a touch point that I can have for her. And it's also a way that we can keep up with a lot of students at once. Things that I can notice about social media is I see when girls' birthdays are, where my students have games and concerts. I can see major life events that are happening based on the things that they're posting, and even kind of just some social dynamics of things that maybe are happening in their friend group or happening at school or happening in their family. And it's a way that I can connect with them and kind of get just a preview and even a deeper look of what's happening in their life without them communicating anything to us. And so my challenge to you is don't look at social media as the enemy to your ministry, but look at it as something that you can use to actually deepen that and to relate to your students in a different way. I would also say that we can use social media as a way to reach and engage with our students about things happening in the life of our churches. You can use social media to promote events. You can use social media. A way that I use it is I follow our parents, and I get to send DMs or like posts when they post about their kids, and just get to build relationships with them. And also, we know about parents and student ministry. It is a win for them to feel communicated to. And so when we get to use social media to communicate with them, man, it is just a huge win. And it's not about being relevant. It's not about being cool. It's not about trying to have an aesthetic or look some type of way, but it really is all about just building relationships with our students and building relationships with parents. And so we need to meet our students where they're at physically, and we also need to meet them where they're at digitally. And the second way that I believe that we can all level up our leadership with Gen Z is by empowering others to lead. It's by empowering others to lead. And this means a few different things. And there's kind of a few different groups of people that we can empower to lead. And the first people that we can empower to lead is obviously our students. Because here's the truth. No one can reach a student like another student. It's just true. There is no one that can reach a student like another student. And so as pastors in their life, as mentors in their life, as small group leaders in life, as adults in their life that love Jesus, we actually have a call on our lives to equip them. Our call is to equip them. And so this looks different than just expecting them to show up on Wednesday nights or them coming to their life group or their small group or their community group, but it's actually a way of discipleship. I think we tend to think of discipleship in youth ministry as maybe taking a core group of students and sitting down at a coffee shop and doing a study where it has a time and a place. And although that is something that's good, we actually see through the model of Jesus that looks a little different. That Jesus didn't teach his disciples how to do things just by sitting down and talking to them, but it was life on life discipleship, that he would bring his disciples alongside of him and let them watch him do ministry. And we see this, we believe this in leadership, right? When we think about training up a new leader, we think of the model of like, hey, I'm going to do it and you watch, and then you do it and I'm going to watch, and then I'm just going to let you do it and I'm going to give you feedback. And I would say that the same thing is true about discipleship and the role that we can play impacting our students in this next generation. And so what that means, what I'm saying is that we need to teach our students how to minister to the people around them. That we don't just need to teach our students biblical facts. We just don't need to teach them biblical literacy, which is great. And that's for sure something that they need to know and that we need to teach them. But we need to teach them how to minister, because you don't graduate into the Great Commission, right? The Great Commission is for every believer, no matter whether you've been following him for 10 days or 10 years. And so our natural instinct of when we're transformed by Jesus is to go and to tell people. And so we need to equip our students to be able to do that. And so I have a few questions for y'all to think through about this. The first question is this: can your students articulate the gospel clearly? Is that something that they know how to do? Is that something that you have taught them how to do? Or something like this: have you taught your students how to share their faith? And not just them knowing the gospel, but how to have a gospel conversation with a friend in the locker room or someone at school or someone in sports. Another question: do they know their testimony? Can they tell someone the way that Jesus has taken them from death to life? Another one: can they pray out loud? Are they comfortable with praying for a friend, not even necessarily in a microphone, but are they comfortable in prayer and praying for someone around them. And I know you're probably sitting here and you're like, Julia, you don't know my students. Like, you don't know what it's like for them. But we know that every student has a next step on their spiritual journey. And so a lot of this might not be overnight, but we need to be able to equip them to reach the people around them because it's something that they are capable of. And it's actually something that God is calling them to do. That's what God is calling all of us to do, is to reach the people in our sphere, in our community, to know Him. And I want to share a story of a way that God has done that in our student ministry. So we have a student, and he is a high school boy. His name is Cody, and he came to our youth probably about a year ago, and he just got radically changed by Jesus. And something else about Cody is he was the captain on his baseball team at school, and so he got transformed by Jesus, went from death to life. He got baptized, and at his baptism, he invited his whole team to be there. Well, a few of them said yes to Jesus and they came to United City Youth, but he realized that his whole team hadn't had a chance to hear the gospel. And so what he did is he invited his whole baseball team to his house and shared the gospel with all of them and made them sit down with each other and talk about where they were at spiritually. Y'all, no one can reach a student like another student. That isn't something that he did because his pastor told him to do it. It's not something that he did because I told him to do it. It's something that he did because he understood what it meant to follow Jesus and how that changes everything around him. Another example of this is we have a 6th grade girl named Allie, and she decided to ask a teacher if she could host a Bible study in her class before school starts every Wednesday. And so Allie, a 6th grade girl, regularly has 30 other 6th grade girls coming in to do a Bible study with them. This isn't something that Allie has asked us to lead or for us to come in and teach, but it's something that she gets to prepare and she gets to reach out to us and we get to help equip her to do that, what God is calling her to. Y'all, students have a place, and so we need to equip them to do that. The second thing that we need to do and how to influence and impact and just encourage our students is that we just need to encourage them to lead. Y'all, we need to call our students up to lead. We need to call them up to live out their faith. We need to call them up and we need to hold them accountable. We need to call them up that they need to be praying for their friends, that they need to be inviting their lost friends to youth, that they need to share their faith with people around them. And here's the thing, we need to celebrate and we need to share the wins of those things happening, because we all know that what's celebrated gets repeated. And the best part is that we're not calling them up to implement a strategy or vision, or if they do it, then we don't have to do it. But no, we are actually calling them up to what they are supposed to be doing, because they need to be living out their faith. And so we get to encourage them to do that around them and around every place that they go. And the last thing is we need to allow them to do it. One of my favorite quotes I heard recently is that people can't be what they don't see. And basically what that means is people aren't going to realize the things that they can do if they don't see someone else doing it and realizing that that could be a reality for them. And so if we don't allow our students to lead now, they may think that they don't have room to do that ever. And there's so many different opportunities that our students can lead. Maybe it can be something as inviting their friends to youth. And it's not just that, or sharing their faith, or maybe just serving on a volunteer team, praying for their team before a game, or leading a Christian club. Our students want to use their gifts. We know that they have gifts, right? We know that's something that the Holy Spirit has given them. And so let's let them do that. And it's okay that the excellence level might be a little different. I know when I think about students leading, the things in my head are like, this might look a little different, or it might be a little more clunky, and that's okay. It's okay, and we can give them grace for that. But we need to let them lead out, because it's what they are called to do. And God has given them gifts to do that. And we also need to connect our students to other adult leaders. Now, this is so huge. If you've been in ministry for any time at all, you've probably learned that you cannot do it all yourself. Sometimes it's easier to do it yourself. Maybe a lot of times it's more comfortable. We feel like we can have more control if we do it all ourselves. But I promise you, our students just need to be connected to as many adults in their life that love Jesus as possible. Because it is a win for students to have so many voices to encourage them to walk out their faith and to live for Jesus. And so we need to be connecting our students to other adult leaders. Now, the two encouragements I have for y'all are this. It's one, that the next generation needs you. Even if they don't realize it, even if you don't realize it, they need you. You have no idea the impact that it makes for you showing up in their lives week in and week out and going to their games and going to their concerts and going to their shows. They need you. And my call for y'all is to serve faithfully because it is God's grace on your life that you get to lead the next generation. It is such an honor. On late Wednesday nights where you're tired and you want to go home, it's because of God's grace on your life that you get to do that. For early morning coffees, it's because of his grace. When a parent is upset, it's still because of his grace. When a student makes the same mistake over and over again and you're just tired of having another hard conversation, it's still because of God's grace on your life that he allows you to have that influence in their life because they need you. But the second encouragement I have is this. It's that God doesn't need you. And you're probably thinking, Julia, like that sounds not encouraging. Why is that an encouragement? It's because I think we can all feel like the pressure is so real when it talks about and when we think about the influence that we have with the generation and the calling that God has asked us to have in the lives of Gen Z. And as much as this generation needs us, it's not about us or the work that we're able to do. It's not about the things that we can do on our own strengths. What matters the most is the one that has called us, because we know that our highest calling is to love God and to lead from a place where we are just with him and abiding with him. And so my encouragement to y'all is keep doing it. Keep doing the hard work. Keep showing up early and leaving late and having conversations with the students in your life and leading them well, because there is so much joy when we get to do what God has called us to do, and really leading in student ministry and just leading where God has called us. It's the best part to play.